Now I know what you're thinking, there's more of these things, and there are, a lot more. And even though I discussed that in the first video in the comics, that seemed to get past a lot of people. But yeah, there are more, there's a lot more. I thought North and South was next, and I remember liking that one a decent amount, but it turns out Smoke and Shadow was next, which I don't remember really having an opinion on one way or the other, but it was the same thing with the Rift, and I ended up liking that one a lot, so hopefully this one can pull that off too. So we start off on a weird note. We joined series classic Ukano. Everyone loves Ukano, as a ghost calls out to him, telling him that he failed as governor of New Ozai. Some real sleep paralysis demon shit going on here. Put it in the ghost video, honestly. Which means, of course, as governor of New Ozai, which I wouldn't fault you for forgetting, is what the occupied Omashu was renamed to, meaning that Ukano is actually, for real series classic, Mei's dad. Mei's dad is like, oh man, you're the you're the mean ghost. You're not supposed to be real, but the ghosts go on to say that Mei's dad, of all people, has to depose Zuko, the Fire Lord, or else fall victim to a vague ghost dooming. Smash cut to Ukano running one of those underground Ozai supporting groups we heard about last comic. Zuko is returning to the Fire Nation tomorrow, along with Ursa, and they're plotting an assassination down here, basically. Everyone seems way into it, except for Bro with the nice hair over here. Oh, also the art that they're using for their Ozai fan club is the same art we see of Ozai in the, like, Hall of Fire Lords or whatever it is in the show a couple times. K-Lo, his name is K-Lo, by the way, isn't against the plan. He's more against it happening so soon. Ukano before this said they needed more time to plan an overthrowing of Zuko, at least half a year, but Ukano says, listen man, we just gotta, like some shit came up and we gotta do it, man. I guess also the planning to overthrow Zuko took more than a year to get going, considering what K-Lo just said and the fact that we've gotten multiple time skips, one being over a year by itself already. Juxtaposition cut to Aang and Zuko's little half-sister having the time of their lives riding some flying dolphin fish. Of course, Aang loves riding animals. This art is really good, I like it a lot, but I just can't help but still feel sometimes the way they draw Aang's face, there's just something about it, right? So the whole squad came along, Ursa, Ki-Yi, and even Kem/Norin, whatever he's going by now. Hopefully we get some insight into how they're taking this, since the end of the Ursa comic was so rushed. Right away we get a little insight into something else to do with Ursa, at least. It seems she's a little apprehensive about going back to the capital, since she's got so many bad memories and experiences there. Suddenly Ursa sees Ki-Yi out riding a wild animal and is like, what the hell, man? And I mean, she's with Aang, she's safe, but also you didn't run that by her mother first? Ki-Yi seems unimpressed, to say the least, to be hugged by Ursa, though. I guess ever since Ursa changed faces, Ki-Yi has been very closed off to her. Which Ursa says, well, you know, it makes sense. Aang tries to explain that Ki-Yi was chillin', the dolphin fishes are super cool, actually, really nice, but Ursa cuts him off and says, no, I was overreacting. Which, I mean, she wasn't, but you can tell Ki-Yi not wanting to be near her really took the wind out of her sails here. Now we're with Ty Lee, who's popped into a flower shop to find who else but Mei's mom, and Mei's mom's son, otherwise known as Mei's little brother. Ty Lee seems surprised. What are you guys doing here? And asks about Ukano. And it turns out Mei's parents split up after the war because Ukano started leading that covert Ozai cult from a couple of pages ago. Remember that? Whoa, Mei's here too, it turns out. The whole family went from politicking and knife throwing to floristing. They do flowers now. So Mei and Ty Lee get some tea, and the conversation naturally flows to remember that psycho who hates us and is the best firebender on the planet. Yeah, well, Zuko let her out of prison to go find their mom, and they're both like, man, what the hell is that guy thinking? And even Ty Lee is like, yeah, I'm stressed out over here. My aura is all over the place. Ty Lee likes auras. They're both thinking they haven't seen the last of Azula. Anyway, we were passing the Bechdel test there for a second, but now Ty Lee asks if Mei's seeing anyone new since she broke it off with Zuko. She says that K-Lo guy from earlier seemed pretty cool there for a sec, but it turned out he was just trying to recruit her to her dad's sect of Ozai-loving weirdos, so she smacked him in the chops. That's a really rare Avatar punch here. Don't really see many of those. Anyway, that was the inciting incident for Mei's parents splitting up, it seems. But K-Lo and Mei have been meeting on the down low for weeks now, and Mei's kind of been leading him along because she knows he has information on her dad, and she knows at least vaguely her dad is planning to hurt Zuko. And she figures, well, you know, friends close, enemies closer. Anyway, that's why Ty Lee is here, to help Mei figure out if this big plan for Zuko's arrival she heard about from K-Lo is for real or not. And oh, speak of the devil, here he is. Alright, you got another smirk out of me, Avatar comic. That makes like 4 lifetime. And I mean, to be fair, I don't think I've ever found any other comic even remotely funny, so I guess it's impressive. So Aang, Katara, and Sokka are gonna take off. Seems to them Zuko and his new family need some family time. So, you know, hug it out. Thanks for everything. Appreciate it, guys. But also, so this comic is a prequel to the Rift then, right? Like this happens before, because these guys haven't gotten to the capital city yet, and at the very start of the Rift, Iroh stands in for Zuko at the party in Yu Dao for the new government, saying that that's why he's there, because Zuko's new family is visiting. Interesting. Aang even mentions that party right here, saying see you then, and Zuko's gotta be like, they think I'm going to that? Back with Mei and Ty Lee now. Mei's really laying it on thick here, like she's smiling and shit, saying things in bold and whatnot. So I guess K-Lo laid out the plan off panel and is doing this simply because he's way into Mei. But with the plan being told when the reader wasn't here, and this art as well, you kinda get the vibe that K-Lo isn't giving them real information. Ty Lee's kinda ticked off at Mei, saying, alright man, like I get the play, but why you gotta lead him on so so hard. May's like, whatever, and so am I, honestly. This guy's in an underground Ozai-loving cult, which seems like it's rapidly becoming an underground Ozai-loving government overthrowing cult, so whatever, fuck this guy. Ty Lee says, he seemed alright to me. On Zuko's ship, we seem like we might finally get a real chat between Zuko and Ursa. Wow, only 3 entire issues too late. They talk about how Zuko has good friends, how Ki is still freaked out by her mom's new face, and of course Azula. Guess Zuko went out looking for her for weeks, but never found anything. Ursa, whose only experiences with Azula was her tumultuous childhood, and that one time she tried to immolate her like a month ago, is still worried about her. Which is good. I like that Ursa sees what she did, forgetting her children that is, as a mistake, and even though Azula turned out so wrong, she still wants the best for her. Suddenly, Scraw! Messenger Hawk's here. It's from the Kyoshi Warriors, and Zuko's like, come on, man. I mean, no, nothing's wrong. It's fine. Everything's great, actually. I'm gonna do everything in my power to keep you all safe. To which Ursa must be like, everything's fine. Why did you just say that to me? I'm probably more alarmed now than if you just told me what was wrong. Change of plans overnight since Zuko's going to be assassinated or something, so instead we're taking a submarine. That'll be cool for the kid. Seems like the same design as the ones from the Day of Black Sun that all got blown up, so I guess the Mechanist made some more. Which makes sense. I guess the Water Tribe would probably be like, we might want some of those, actually. So you're expecting some waterbenders to be on board, since you need some of those to make the sub work properly, but nope, turns out it's Iroh inside, which I'm also down with. Iroh apologizes to Ursa for all the mistreatment she suffered from his family, but Ursa's like, you were always my favorite. Come on, bro, bring it in. Also, Suki's here. I guess the waterbenders are just chilling below deck. The plan is to send Zuko and company in the submarine, while Iroh goes as a decoy to see what's up with the people trying to overthrow them. Oh shit, Iroh wants that smoke. He's even stunting on Zuko for being angsty. Man, Iroh's in rare form today. Also, another vague hint at the whole Suki-Zuko thing. Like, this wouldn't be anything on its own, but with the other evidence as well. I'm no shipper, like I said, but come on, they're hinting at something. So Zuko and his family take off in the submarine, and Iroh takes its place re-entering the capital, doing his best Zuko wave impression, filled with much angst. So the submarine meets back up with the other Kyoshi warriors, and oh man, Kyoshi warrior on Komodo Rhino back? That's pretty sweet. So instead, Zuko is taking a heavily guarded convoy through a more rural part of the country to get back into the palace. Mai and Ty Lee are stationed along the giant zigzagging road you have to take up the volcano to get to the capital city. The heavily fortified one the invasion had to fight its way up during the Day of Black Sun. According to K-Lo, this is where the move on Zuko is supposed to happen, which doesn't seem to make sense since it's the most heavily guarded road in the country. Mai says K-Lo is a liar. Yeah, no, I got that vibe too. Seems like you should have had that thought earlier than right this second. Ty Lee's like, well, if you want to talk about lying, we can talk about you being so fake to the guy, and Mai and me, honestly, are like, give it a rest. He's like one small step away from a terrorist. Despite Mai thinking K-Lo was lying, an attack does happen. Fucking, I guess, what do we know, Mai? So the fight is on. The new Ozai Society, or whatever, jumped the caravan. The Fire Nation soldiers are classically outmatched, so it's up to the Kyoshi warriors and Iroh to take them out. But, the Kyoshi warriors did it too fast, and Iroh doesn't get a piece. Man, don't taunt me with Iroh action and then not give it to me. This attack wasn't the only one going on, apparently, as they see Suki's distress flare in the distance. And oh god, they've got tree benders. Alright, they don't, but this is a very impressive trap the insurgents set up. Like, they must have had ample time to set this up, which means someone knew about this secondary plan to get Zuko into the capital. Which means someone very close to him betrayed him and leaked the plan. Or, I guess that messenger hawk got intercepted and then sent on its way anyway to Zuko to not let them know it was intercepted. But I side on the former. I bet it was fucking Ki. I never trusted her. Not from the start I didn't trust her. So the new Ozai Society stopped the convoy with force, and I'm not kidding here, the first plan was to simply ask Zuko to step down from the throne. Okay, well maybe K-Lo over here with his dumbass hair sticking out isn't as small of a step away from terrorist as I thought. Oh wait, no, never mind. They're attacking the head of state. Oh, here we go. They're bad. They're bad after all, guys. So Suki and Zuko take to kicking some ass. Really cool art. I like the shot of Suki a lot. Look at those fans. Of course, the bad guys are no match for Spider-Woman Suki and fully realized I have a mom now Zuko, but it turns out there's like a lot of them. And they have tech new to Avatar. These throwing tripwire things that wrap around people to incapacitate them. I don't know what to call them, genuinely. Like, I so don't know what to call them, I don't even know what to Google to look up what to call them. The throwing things you can't move any more wires, except they don't throw them. They fire them out of cannons. The cannony, you can't move any more wires. Oh man. Anyway, I'm sure you'll notice that Suki has been hit by one of them in this panel since I've been holding on it and zooming in for so long. And on the next panel, Zuko too was like, I've been shot. So we lose, it turns out, and Ukano over here is definitely posturing like, I'm gonna burn this carriage and whoever's inside of it. So be it, I guess. Unlucky for them. Dumbasses shouldn't have been in that carriage. Zuko's like, don't do that. And even K-Lo was like, yes, I agree, don't do that. Here, Zuko, I'll let you out. Go kick their ass. Zuko's like, no doubt, no doubt. And K-Lo's even throwing punches for his side too now, but Ukano seems unsurprised at the betrayal. K-Lo tries to explain to Zuko that they have a mutual friend, and Zuko's like, who? And Mai's like, ha ha! Surely these guys were only hitting their clothes and sent flying into nearby trees or something. something. They're fine. And now it's really Iroh time, baby. Time to lay down the law. May gets her hands on Kalo and he tries to tell her that he was fed bad info because they knew he was gonna heel turn them. And maybe they did, but that still doesn't explain how they knew where the actual carriage with the VIPs in it was gonna be, and why Kalo personally is here and not at the other attack. Zuko says, chill, I like this guy, and May's like, you're an idiot then. A spear goes flying through the carriage's window. That ain't good. There were 3 non-fire throwing or chi blocking people in there. Hopefully they put all those points into spear dodging. It turns out they're good, but now Zuko is cornered. May heard her dad's voice up here somewhere though, so she goes to give him a piece of her mind, but there's a bunch of flunkies in the way. Ukano says, no, don't attack my daughter, you idiots, but yes, actually do attack the other guy. And somehow these very simple commands completely baffle the new Ozai goons. Wow, what an intimidating enemy force. Kalo tries to level with May, saying, alright man, I'm sorry for the whole trying to kill the Fire Lord thing and the overthrow the government thing and the lying to you constantly and consistently from square one thing, but I really do actually like you. And like, sorry man, you got gamed, better luck next time is what I'm saying, but this comic will very likely go a different direction. But Kalo gets knocked off this thing and injured, which is a classic conversation ender that also calls for May asking if he's alright, which means this interaction ended on a weird concerned note from May, leaving the door open to who knows what. Anyway, May and her dad are gonna talk, maybe. But not before Zuko shows these new Ozai goons there's levels to this shit. He gets fire blasted by all 3 of them, and if I'm reading the art correctly, repurposes all of that fire into a mostly orange cyclone that has hints of the rainbow fire he saw when meeting Ran and Shaw. Now obviously this is like, whoa, Zuko can make fire all rainbowy? What the hell? And I agree, what the hell? Did he mean to do this? Was he waiting to break this out on some fools? But also interesting is Zuko bending someone else's fire, which is an insanely rare skill, only ever shown off in the show when Chit-Sang did it at the Boiling Rock. And I guess Roku did it that one time too while he was a spirit, but like many things, that's Avatar stuff. That doesn't count. He shoots all the fire into the sky and is fittingly like, I'm the fucking greatest! Did you just see that? That was insane! You better all go away or you will all be receiving an equal piece of this! As he stands above everyone with an explosion in the background. Good to see Zuko still got it, maybe even more than ever, even though he's a politician now. Maybe he does take after Dad. May's dad tries to explain himself. He says that Zuko only cares about appeasing the Avatar and the other nations. Look at what happened to you, Dao. Those people don't even have any power over their own lives anymore. Which, I mean, I don't know if that's true. They're just getting some new government. It's not like their culture is being suppressed or anything. But Ukano goes on to say, with Zuko's weakness sitting on the throne, the Fire Nation will never have security. Which at least frames his weirdo movement in a more understandable light. Like, they don't want to overthrow Zuko just because they're like, yeah, go Ozai, screw the other nations, burn it down. They want their homeland to have strong leadership, their families to be protected, and they see this as the only means to achieve that. Which would make sense. Ukano and his men grew up under the rule of Azulon and then Ozai. They're probably very used to the country being run in a very certain way. May's like, if he's so weak, how come he just stunted on your entire attack force so hard they ran away or are just willfully being arrested? Her dad says, no, that's my point, man. Zuko will push his own people around, but it's the rest of the world that he's bowing down to. And then he pulls the card, he even pushed you, his only real connection to the Fire Nation, away. And if you think I'm all the way wrong on this, then just arrest me. And May's like, damn, you had to pull the ex-boyfriend card, huh? May catches up with the wounded Kalo and gives him a shoulder to lean on, but tells him that her dad got away, meaning she let him go. Which opens up an interesting possible plot for May if she thinks her dad had a point there, or at least half a point. Kalo tries to explain that they had him figured the whole time, and May says that she believes him, which opens up probably a for real romantic interest for May, which, I don't know, I just don't think a relationship with the foundations of you both trying to double mind game each other over the overthrowing of a government is gonna last. I mean, I've never tried it, maybe it makes for a really great connection. So after that whole mess, we finally arrive at the capital. Zuko says thanks to Suki and the squad and asks if Suki knows where May's living these days. She says she does, and if Zuko ever wants to come visit, written in bold, just let her know. Now, okay, this goes against the whole Suki-Zuko thing I've been commenting on, but you know, it's a slow burn. Suki's still with Sokka. This is a get-together in your mid-20s kind of vibe, I'm telling you. So the half-royal family arrives, and Kiyi calls Zuko Zuzu on some real casual type beat. And both Zuko and Ursa are like, whoa, what the hell? Then Zuko's like, no one calls me Zuzu, so he does the whole fire tornado thing again, and it's not looking good for Kiyi. Actually, though, they're just like, that's weird, and the reader should think that too. Has Kiyi had some strange unknown encounter with Azula in the past few weeks that no one knows about? Or is it just a random coincidental nickname she came up with? Ursa's having trouble stepping foot on the premises here. She's really thinking about her horrible life here and what it represents. And she's a theater kid slash actor. She's a little dramatic. Okay, I'm kidding. Don't yell at me. Yes, this reaction is very understandable when there's so many negative emotions and experiences tied up with this place. Yes. Could already see the comments about that line. That wouldn't have went over well. Oh, Iroh's here too. Nice. He says Ursa will come around. It's been a tough time for her. But also, you're troubled about something else, I bet. Zuko's like, yeah, those guys that tried to kill me like 2 hours ago? That's still kind of bothering me. Say, uncle, can you go to that Yudao thing for me so I can stay here and deal with this? Iroh's like, yeah. Then we get this really crazy 2-page spread of Ursa walking down a hall in the palace, talking to herself, repeating that they're all safe, only for her to come to the foot of the giant Ozai mural that we talked about earlier, and is still filled with this deep, horrible dread. Classic transition shot of something being in one panel, and then the same thing being in the next. This time it's Ozai's face. We rejoin Ukano, who was also rejoined by the scary cloaked ghost from the start, and they're probably talking like, Ukano, Ukano, you failed to redeem yourself. But I'll cut all the fluff here for you. Basically, they say you blew it, we're pissed, you got a month, if you don't overthrow the government by then ooh, you're gonna get it. Speaking of 1 month, it's 1 month later now, meaning the Yudao inauguration has happened, and the few days it took for the rift to happen too, so we're back in the present. Also, if we keep having these big leaps in time, Sokka's gonna be like 25 by the end of the comics. Mei and Kalo are out on a date, like a proper one, where they're both being real, unless that is, I don't know, Kalo is actually secretly Ko the face stealer or something, and this is some unhinged triple mind game. He tries to make me doubt the Ko theory immediately though, by talking about his tragic backstory. There's always a fucking tragic backstory. Dead parents, wanted to belong somewhere, new Ozai society seemed good, Mei seemed better, and Mei agrees, and whoa, hold on. Mei suddenly hears her mom scream, and oh, the freaky ghost people are on the roof, that'll do it. Mei jumps up to confront them, and it turns out they're here to abduct her little brother. Man, that kid has a bad track record for this. Unlike last time though, Mei seems very invested in her little brother's safety, but they disappear in a puff of smoke. This seems like the reckoning those ghosts promised Ukano a month ago, as he seemingly still hasn't pulled off the simple task of killing the king. So we're talking to the guards about what just happened, and Mei tells them they look just like the Kemurikage, and the Kemurikage are just some bullshit fairy tale from Mei's hometown, meant to scare kids into being good, just like the boogeyman or taxes. Mei's mom's like, those aren't real, it's just a story. Too bad, I guess. Mei's mom shouldn't have had a kid while the Kemurikage were kicking about. Unlucky for you. Zuko busts in, and he's like, I'm here to help, much to the displeasure of what's his name over here? Kalo, yeah, that's it. Zuko heard that they're dealing with spirits, and he says, alright, I'm calling in the big guns. The opening to Smoke and Shadow. Not bad. Pretty good, I might even venture to say. It's a pretty tight little story so far, what with the attempted overthrowing of Zuko, and we get a lot of that, which I'm thankful for. I'm glad that this story didn't feel the need to have to cut away to the Aang gang here and there. It was very contained, and that helped a lot. But at the same time, it still has time to develop some very interesting beats. Kiyi not liking Ursa, Kiyi calling Zuko Zuzu, Ursa having trouble going back to the capital, Mei's family gets a big spotlight, which I imagine no one was expecting. Also, Kalo is alright, I guess, I don't really care about him at all at this point. He seems pretty bland, unless he does turn out to be Ko the face stealer. Ukano sort of saves the conflict at the end by explaining himself more clearly to Mei and how he sees the situation. If it wasn't for that conversation, the conflict here could have really come down to bad Ozai people think Ozai is good, defeat the bad Ozai people, which would have felt not as well thought out as the conflicts in these books usually are. The Kemurikage are interesting. I do know the full story on them, I remember it, but the way they're handled in this one issue is appropriately brief and heavy, making for another interesting point in the book. They're mysterious, and they're handled mysteriously. It's good. From a character perspective, our big players kind of take a back seat. The only ones really around are Zuko and Iroh, and maybe to a lesser extent Suki. But Iroh's been in the back seat since the Crossroads of Destiny, basically, so no big shift there. Getting less of our main characters is good and bad. Zuko still gets his moments to shine, and even though the story is mostly about overthrowing him, it's not really his story. It's Mei's, and I know Mei isn't a super fan favorite out there. She's not one of my favorites either, but for basically leading this comic, I think it turned out pretty good. So yeah, as far as these comics go, this issue goes squarely into the good enough for me territory. Patreon shoutouts. If you want to see 2 brand new videos from me, you can support me on Patreon for just a few bucks. Link, as always, is in the description below the video. Biggest shoutouts of all go to my top patrons. Agent Rhino, who competed in the javelin throw in the Olympics and didn't throw it the furthest, but they did slay a rampaging Cyclops with it, so they were still awarded the gold. Danger Stranger, who has a Street Fighter-esque special move, if only they could figure out how to double quarter circle forward in real life. Gift Misher Von PTA, who has the record for the longest power slide on your knees while hitting a power chord on an electric guitar at 55 feet. Omega Fighter, who has Raisin Vision, the power to raisinify any living thing that he chooses, which is pretty terrifying. Sean Martin, who skipped a stone clear across the ocean in 1944 and hit a Nazi in the shin. Stephanie Riches, who has had multiple assassination plots attempted against her, but she's inexplicably immune to at least 5 different kinds of poison and crossbow bolts. Thomas Lautenbach, who, in the right lighting, is the most debonair man alive, and that lighting is either the sun or the moon is in the sky. Tiago Nascimento, who dug up some treasure chest on an island and now the entire History Channel is pissed off at him. Tis Just Lee, who did a card trick so good they fooled the entire world into thinking the 9 of diamonds was a card this whole time. Varunda, who freed like 5 whales from an enclosure, but when they all jumped over him at the same time, he was also on fire, so it looked way sicker than that lame-ass movie. And Whitrow, who completed the first ever flat ground 1-jump front flip backflip combo somehow. Crazy to look at. And of course my god overanalyzers, Two Boots Are Beat, Andrew Watchard, Alex Rodriguez Flores, Austin Gallup, Daniel Anderson, Devoted 221, Dizzy Payne, Dominic Saint, Distant, Aaron Grace, It's Curtin, Jackson, John Ajaka, Justin Fletchall, Mr. Freese, Nicholas Abbott, Phil, Pogger White, Reese, Rocket Mist, Ryan Maxwell, Samuel Vanderplatt, Super Snipper, Turt Bobs, and Bareface. Next up, comic part 2, overanalyzing clouds. Who knows?